I am not a developer. I don't know how to write a single line of code, but in one weekend, I built a no-code tool using an app called Lovable that helps you decide on what business offer you should choose based on how much money it could make you per month and how much you would enjoy actually working on it. So you get to see me go through the entire process using Lovable. All I'm doing is typing things into a prompt like using GPT, and it is creating everything. I didn't have any predefined designs. I didn't have any pages I had already built. It did it all step by step and in just a few hours. So you can watch the entire process start to finish, and you can check out and use the tool yourself at offermath.com. Feel free to check it out, have fun using it, and I hope you enjoy the video. Here we are in Lovable, and the first thing we have to do is just give it a prompt to start this project. Now, I don't want to overwhelm it because I've found that if you give it too much, it can get started and try and do a lot of those things, and then they just don't work. So I'm going to give it a very simple prompt, but before I do that, I'm just going to show you a couple things that I have set up for this project. One is just this little easel that I created. It's just a screenshot of an image I liked from Dribbble, where I get a lot of design inspiration. I'm not going to try and copy this. I just wanted to use it as a reference to build our design system, which I'll show you what that means in a minute. I've got this color palette that I pulled from the image, and I have this set up in coolers over here, where I can just quickly copy these colors if I need them. And then I created a logo in like 2 minutes. It doesn't look great, but it will do the job, and I just want something to be on the page. And then I have a Notion doc that I put together with the help of ChatGPT to write out essentially like the main things I want to create. And all this stuff is in here. So we're going to want to create the design system. We're going to create authentication. We're going to integrate Supabase. I'll show you that. We're going to have a user profile and dashboard, the core tool itself, and then build in Stripe payments and then launch it. And that'll hopefully be something that we get done by the end of this. And I watch a lot of these Lovable videos, and what I don't see is people actually saying like, cool, now you can go use this thing at this URL. And that's what I'm really hoping to do by the end of this video. So we'll see if I can make it happen. But now let's go ahead and go back to Lovable and let's write a little prompt to get started. Okay, so this is my simple prompt. I don't know if there's a perfect prompt to getting started with Lovable, but I just wrote, hey there, I'd like to be friendly. We also call Lovable Laz in our house. No reason other than just to give it a name. I want to build an offer math tool. This tool helps creators input different offer ideas that they can build and monetize. Think online course, membership, Notion templates, etc. The idea is they will be able to input an offer type, name, price, estimated customers per month, and an enjoyment score 1 to 10. Then they can add multiple offers to compare them. Let's start there. Don't create too much as I have some things to discuss with you. Let's hit the magic button and see what happens. Now, if you've never used Lovable before, you may not have experienced what this is doing, which I don't know what it's doing because I'm not a developer, so I don't know how all these things work. I just love that Lovable can handle the entire setup of a project for you, setting up all kinds of files, writing all kinds of code for you. We're gonna end up changing a ton of the stuff that it creates to start just through prompting. And again, I know no code whatsoever, so I am just going to be instructing it through prompts. And whatever it ends up creating to get started is what we will use, and then we'll just build off of that as we go. We have a tool that's built, and I'm sure, yeah, it's giving us some drop-down options here. It chose, I'm just gonna call this Cool People Membership. That's the name of my membership, is Cool People Membership. We're gonna say it's $20, and we're gonna say, yeah, 100 customers a month, and I'm gonna enjoy this one pretty well. And look, it's actually already doing a little bit of work here. It doesn't just have an empty form. So we've already set up a lot, which is really exciting. But I want to do a couple things first that I know I'm going to need to do for this project, because I want to have users that can save their different offers and they can look at them. And I want to be able to charge for this. And so I'm going to have to connect Supabase, which is a database tool that is basically built into Lovable as an integration. And the first thing we're going to do is create a new project. So I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to go and add a new project. I'm just going and choosing a name, and I'm just setting it to whatever the standard compute size is. You don't necessarily have to start paying for Supabase when you're getting a project going, but you will have to once you're ready to launch it. There'll be some additional costs here. You set a password and you click create project. This usually takes about 2 minutes to spin up, so we'll just let this happen and we'll come back to it. And there we have it. After a few minutes, our project status is all green. Everything has been set up, done absolutely nothing, just clicked a button and then waited patiently. Let's go ahead and go back over to Lovable. It's gonna spin the project back up. But while we have this done, we are going to connect this project here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and connect, and Supabase and Lovable will work together. So it is going to do all these things. Fantastic. Okay, so I just told it, let's go ahead and set up auth. A user does not need to sign in or sign up to use the tool, but we want to have profiles. And we'll kind of sort more of that out later, but let's just start there. All right, so in doing that, it's gonna go ahead and do a bunch of database stuff that I don't know what it is, but it's easy for me just to click apply changes, which I love to do because Lovable will do all the hard work. All right, so Lovable is saying, Laz is saying that it has created a new auth page, and then we have the main app. So if I click here in the pages, we got some unwanted changes here, which we do need to work. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click fix. I don't know what it tried to do that it couldn't do, but the fix button becomes your best friend when you're working on one of these projects. Okay, so it looks like, I don't know what that error was, but I can't see the sign in page in my page list. Did you create it? I like to ask Lovable questions and then it can think about what it needs to do. There we go. I noticed that while we set up the database schema for authentication, I have not created the authentication page yet. You gotta be really explicit, and even when you say make the page, sometimes it makes it behind the scenes, but then it doesn't actually list it in the app itself. And it looks like we got another error here, which don't know why, but let's go ahead and click fix. And again, that fix button, your best friend while you're working in Lovable, probably in Bolt and other apps like this. TypeScript errors. Yeah, gonna see lots of these while building in Lovable. Ton of TypeScript errors. Don't know what it means, but it'll usually fix it. You just have to give it a couple chances. Keep hitting the try to fix button. It seems to be getting really stuck with this file without permission. So let me just ask it what's going on. All right, so it looks like what it was trying to do was create authentication without having any tables that it could put people into in the database. So it's gonna write all of this code to create database tables in our Supabase project, which is fantastic because I don't know how to do all those things. Also looks like it's creating some policies. Fantastic work, Lovable, great job. All right, finally, my last question that I asked it was, it looks like you're having a lot of trouble setting up basic auth and the connection to Supabase. Why is that? We're just getting started. This should be the easy part. Sometimes I like to remind Laz that like, this shouldn't be that difficult, buddy. I don't know what you're doing. I'm just gonna go ahead and sign up here, and I'm just gonna create a quick password. So email, password, so let's sign in. So that doesn't count. So we gotta go to sign up. It is smart enough to not work. So let's go create account. Fantastic. So I don't need to fix this error because that was an error on my part. So my account has been successfully created, but there is no place for me to go. So it just takes me right into the app, which is totally fine. And again, I just want the authentication to be working so that we can start doing the fun stuff. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna turn to the chat only feature, and I wanna ask Lovable about building a design system. So let me write that prompt and then I'll explain what we're doing. Here's the prompt that I wrote to create a design system, and why I'm creating this is because I want to give Lovable a place where we are setting some design standards for this project, because I find that if you do this later on in the project, it can be kind of hard and then it just takes random generic out of the box designs and when you've already done design. So I kind of want to create a system here. So I found that creating a design system page helps. So I just said, I want to have you create a new page called design system. I attached an image for reference that has a style I really like. I also attached a color palette from that image. I want you to create the following sections on the design page with components we can reference and we'll use over and over again. So typography, H1, H2, H3, and body copy. Color palette, use the exact colors in the second screenshot. So I'm hoping that it will pull from there. It might not, but we'll try. Buttons, use the main blue color from the color palette with a fun hover state, and also create a secondary button too. Form inputs, use the screenshot to build pill shapes, and because I want the input forms to be pill shaped, use any other reusable layouts or UI components you think we'll need, so just create those. And then the logo, and I attached that really quick logo. So let's see what we come up with here. And I'm just in chat mode because I want to see if it's going to ask me any questions before implementing this. Fantastic. So I probably could have let it just do this as code and not use the chat function, but sometimes it just goes awry, and you can tell that it's actually pulling out these correct colors. So I could compare these one by one as I was going through this, but I just had a quick look and they are the colors that we want, which is great. For typography, it's picking different font sizes, button system, form inputs, additional components. It's going to do some badges, progress bars. Sure, it can put these things in there. We're not going to necessarily use them, but it's good to have them ahead of time. Here's how we'll structure it. And then I love this button that they've added recently. Implement the plan. Let's do it, Laz. All right, so we got an error, and let's see what this was. Trying to set up a button using probably some type of framework that does buttons and icons. So it probably didn't add that framework correctly. So having used Lovable a few times, run into that error. Again, I don't know what all the errors mean, but sometimes you take a look at them and you go, oh, okay, that's probably what that is. All right, so that fixed the error. Let's go ahead and go to the page. So we have our typography, we have our color palette, which is really nice. I could probably have it add some quick copy buttons from here if I wanted to do that, which is good. We've got some primary buttons. Look at these hover states. We actually have all kinds of different buttons that added here. We have our form inputs, which these look good with some different colors. We have basic cards, cards with a badge, interactive card. And then we have our logo, which I'm not sure why it didn't do that, probably because it needs to add it to Supabase. So I'm just telling it that it probably needs to upload the logo to Supabase so that when the page loads, it's actually pulling that logo from a database somewhere where that logo is hosted. So let's see if it can handle that. All right, so the first thing it's going to do is create a storage bucket for our assets, which is fantastic. All right, so it wants me to actually go into the storage bucket and upload this logo. So let's go ahead and do that here. Assets folder. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and upload a file. We have offer math. So we are uploading. That's our logo. I'm going to go ahead and copy the URL because I feel like that's going to be helpful. So I went ahead and gave it that URL. If we go ahead and change the domain of this project, I'm guessing that we may end up having some stuff change with this, but maybe we won't and it'll work fine. All right, look at that. It uploaded our logo. It was even able to put it on a different color background, which is great. Love to see that. And now we can move forward with the next thing in the project. Oh, actually, before we do that, the one thing that I'm noticing is the components here that it created. They kind of look very like standard, so I want to see if it can make them look a little bit more fun. I'm just asking it to adjust the additional components, saying that they look very standard, and I want it to make different ones with bigger border radiuses, much larger, softer shadows, and then add a few cars that have light background colors, just again, so I can have things to reference when we're building other parts of this tool. Okay, so it updated our additional components, made this big rounded border with a little border color here. I told it to do that. And then I said reduce the shadow and it got rid of it completely, but I actually kind of like it without the drop shadow. So I feel like this is a good start for our design system. And again, it gives us a lot more to work from than you get out of the box with this. So let's go back to our index page and let's just say, please add more elements from our design system to the index page. I want it to feel more fun, like our inspiration image. So I asked Lovable to add some fun to the homepage, and I think it definitely did that. It pulled in our colors. I'm not exactly sure why it made these input types all these different colors. While I do think they're kind of fun, they're a little bit distracting like this, but let's not get stuck on design yet. Let's do one thing that it should know how to do. So I'm using the select tool here where you can select different parts of the page. And I'm just gonna say, replace this with our logo. Which is a really nice feature where you can just kind of select different elements so it's not applying a bunch of changes to the entire page. And I know that Lovable has some functionality coming out where you're actually going to be able to edit different things, colors, padding, etc., without having to have the actual AI do that stuff for you. You can just do it within there, which is nice. Okay, as you can see, it didn't add our logo, and it should know that we have our logo in our design system. So I'm just saying the design system has our logo, so it can remember that it needs to reference that page to find these different elements that we have already set up ahead of time, so we don't have to keep giving it the element or going to find the URL somewhere. And just like that, it found our logo in the design system and it added it. Wonderful. Okay, I want to make some key changes here, but I want to check a box. So we're going to go over here to the Notion setup. The design system page is done. And the auth page is pretty much done. We don't have the forgot password set up. So let's see if we can go ahead and take care of that because that is a feature that we will definitely need. First, we just gotta update designs. All right, so let's just go ahead and have it change the look and feel of the auth page first. And then I want to tell it to add the forgot password functionality because it doesn't have that. And that's a crucial part of having people sign in is being able to reset a password. So I went ahead and changed the sign-in screen, which I think it looks kind of fun. It added this little icon here. So if you don't have an account, you'll do that. And so now let's say on this page, we need to add a forgot password functionality. Please add that to the sign-in page. All right, so we have a forgot password link. If we click this, it doesn't go anywhere. So we need to make sure we have a forgot password page. Right now we need a page the forgot password link goes to, so a user can submit their email and we set a new password. All right, couldn't apply the changes. Some type of error. I don't know what it means, but we'll just tell it to fix it and hopefully it fixes it. Right, so I can see it created a reset password page, but for some reason when you click the link, it doesn't work. So I just told it the forgot password link needs to go to the reset password page, and the reset password page needs to only have an email submit form because you shouldn't be inputting a password on a page where you need your password. And just like that, we got it working. So now we have a reset password page. The functionality of this probably works, but I'm not going to waste time working on this now. We'll do that at the very end. But just the fact that it's set up we'll come back to it and we'll figure it out. But let's get into more of the fun stuff. So let's go over to our Notion doc and let's see what we want to work on next. So we're just going to call authentication page done for now, allow users to sign up, sign in, recover passwords. Good to go. Supabase integration, we have done that, which is fantastic. User profile and dashboard, we don't have that yet. Let's go ahead and actually move this up. I want to work on the core offer math tool functionality. Then we'll work on creating user profiles. So let's come back to the actual app itself. And one of the thoughts that I'm having is it kind of feels like a lot to do at one time. And so I'm thinking if I tell it to set it up as a step-by-step process to add an offer, that I think that'll be a little bit easier and less overwhelming and actually feel like you're accomplishing more as you're setting up your offer. So let me type that out and let's see what we get. Okay, so here's what I typed out. Basically, I want to create a horizontal step-by-step view, doing things one at a time so it doesn't feel overwhelming. And then a user should be able to add another offer after that. So let's see what it comes up with. It probably will not be perfect as it isn't most of the time, but it's going to create hopefully a better flow that doesn't feel like I've got to fill out a bunch of stuff and maybe that's overwhelming and then I give up and I don't use the tool. All right, so here's what it came up with. I thought it was going to span all the way across the page, but it kind of did a 1/3, 2/3 width, which I actually don't mind. There's a couple little design things that I don't love, but I do like that you can easily just do this one at a time and it doesn't feel overwhelming. But let's go ahead and fix some of these things that look a little bit weird. So I'm just telling it to get rid of this light opacity that it's doing so that you can't see the line behind the circles. It's just kind of distracting to me. And it went the other way, and it looks like it made it the opacity higher. So let me clarify. Alrighty, I just saved you what ended up being about 5 minutes of dealing with this very simple issue. You can see here that the button, the circle for this little step counter was having a weird transparency, and they could not figure out how to fix it. And so one of the things that I tend to use as my kind of like prompt engineering when I'm working with something is I'll ask it as many questions as possible. I'll try and chat with it to see, hey, why are you doing this? And then when I get to a place where I've tried like 4 or 5 different things, eventually what I do is I give it this prompt here is something like this. I think you need to redo this number whatever this thing is, step by step, completely from scratch and make it correctly. I like the styling you chose, but the opacity wasn't working. So when it did that, it finally had a working version, but the line was wrong. So I had to give it just 2 more prompts to fix that. And now you can see we do have the line in the correct place. So when I go through this and I click next and I type an offer name, let's say this is a course here about IG Reels and the price, let's call it $30. And I'm gonna get 50 customers for this thing. And my enjoyment level, let's say I don't love creating courses about Instagram Reels, but it's not bad. I'll call it a 5. And so I'm gonna add my offer. Cool, so that works. Let's just go ahead and add another offer. So let's just say I'm also thinking about a Mastering IG Reels membership where every month you get some access to things. This is a $15 per month membership. And I think maybe I'll get 20 customers per month. And my enjoyment of that running a membership kind of feels like a lot more work than just a course. So I'm gonna say it's 1 less here. And I just am kind of curious how this is gonna look. So let's go ahead and say, I'm gonna do a template as well. And it's the IG Reels creation template. And we'll do that. And the price will be $10, cheap template here. But we'll probably get more customers than that, so say 150. And my enjoyment, I'm gonna make that pretty quickly. I'm not gonna have to do much for it. I think 8 is a good number. Cool, so you can see it's already kind of figuring out how to manage multiple offers in this space. I do think they could look more fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it this screenshot here, and I'm going to tell it this. Okay, so what I'm telling it to do is just match our fun styling. So I'm hoping that what it's probably gonna do is create a couple different color backgrounds for these card components. And then I also said use a tag to denote if it's a course, membership, et cetera. So I'm hoping in the type here, it can figure that out because I'd like to see if maybe I wanna compare 2 different courses that I'm working on. I'll be able to quickly see this is a course and not just text that I'm reading, but I can see these 2 little tags that look similar. So we'll see if it can figure that out. All right, so as you can see, it did make it a little bit more fun. I also added a second course here, and you can see that the little flag or tag that it's calling for a course shows up. It added a little hover state, really for no reason whatsoever, but hey, that's fine. And I like that we're seeing all the different numbers and things showing up. Now, where I think our app is going to be really helpful is we want to show someone what kind of the best choice is for them. So I'm gonna write a prompt for the AI to do a little bit of a calculation and weight the enjoyment factor along with the price to pick the winner and then highlight that winner. So let's see if I can have it do that in one prompt. Okay, so I actually decided I'm gonna switch this over to chat mode because I have this part of this prompt that I add often. But I said, great job, now I want you to come up with a calculation that takes into account the total revenue and the enjoyment score. Between all submitted ideas, I want you to highlight the best idea, and I'll just say visually, that generates the most revenue with the highest enjoyment score. Do you want to ask me any clarifying questions? So let's go ahead and see what questions it comes back with, because this is a great way to not just tell it to do something and then go, oh, I wish it would have thought of that. Is if it's going to ask you some things that it's going to potentially do, then you can say, yes, do that, don't do that, yes, do that, and you kind of save a couple steps in the process. So it came back with a bunch of different stuff here from your request. We need a formula, yes. For the scoring formula, I would suggest, which I love that it's suggesting something because I'm not as smart as an AI. And it says the example is we're going to create a weighted score. So if we have $1,000 per month with a 5 out of 10 enjoyment, the score would be 500. And the other example would be $800 a month, but with a 9 out of 10 of enjoyment, that would be a 720 weighted score. So I want to choose that one and make maybe a little bit less per month, but really enjoy the work I'm doing. So I think that's fantastic. Purple highlight color for the winning one, a trophy icon, didn't even tell it to do an icon. This sounds great. And then it did say it had one clarifying question. Would you prefer the scoring to weigh revenue and enjoyment equally, or should one factor weigh having another? Cool. All right, so I just switched back over to from chat to default, and I said, I like this exactly as you planned it. I think the weighting is perfect to start. Let's implement. So we can see that it highlighted the winner. It did put the trophy icon behind the X icon for the card, so I think we could probably just tell it to fix that. But I like the way that it picked this. I do think we should add some sort of little helpful message as to why we're picking that one. So let me write a prompt to do that and let's see what it comes up with. So here's the prompt that I wrote. I took a little screenshot of the X that was over top of the trophy, and I just said, I think you did great. I noticed the trophy icon is interacting with the X, so maybe we add it to the top left of the card with a solid circle shape behind it, make it evenly overhang the top left edge, so I'm hoping it puts it on the top left edge. Also, we should add a message at the top of the winning card that uses a light purple background from our design system, so always referencing that, that says, this offer is your winner. It's the highest revenue with the highest enjoyment. Let's see what it comes up with. Alrighty, so it was able to move our icon over to the top left, which is great. We added this little success message. I had a little trouble with the X icon, but I just gave it 2 prompts here to fix it. And it really helped when I pressed select and I actually selected it. And I said, make the circle slightly larger than the X icon, move it over to the top right. And I do find if you tell it you want it to like hang over an edge, you need to say like overhanging the right edge evenly. If you don't include that, it looks weird. Now, the one thing that I was thinking about here is if I add another offer that's actually better than this one, will it change once it adds the new one? Real. So let's see what happens. Nice. So it did go ahead and switch this to the winner, which is fantastic. I think we should tell it when the winner is added because obviously it's at the bottom here. Let's move the winner up. Cool. So I asked it to move the winning offer card to always be first on the left here, which I think is really helpful. And I'm not loving the fact that these heights are different. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell it and see if we can normalize the height of these. And I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen. This might be one of those where we get to use the restore button, but let's find out. All right, great. So I told it to normalize the height of the cards, and I'm curious what's gonna happen if I get rid of this one. Is this card gonna move up and then be the right height? And it is. Nice. Okay, great. And it has a little message here, offer deleted, this offer has been removed. It did that without me even asking for it, which is really great. The next thing that I'm thinking about is it would be nice if it prioritized these offers so that you could see them in the best order based on where they rank. So this one's obviously the winning offer, but it'd be nice to know that this one is second, third, fourth, etc. So let's see if I can tell it that and if it can make that happen. Okay, so I'm going back to chat mode and I'm just gonna tell it this. I said, I love what you did with the trophy icon on the winning card. I'd like to keep the cards ranked in order with our weighted scale. Then it would be great for the non-winning cards to have a pill-shaped flag at the top overhanging the top edge evenly that has the place they are in. Example, second place, third place. So what I'm envisioning is a little pill that kind of sits atop these cards, not this one, but this one here that would say second place, this one would say third place, this one would say fourth place. Let's see what we get with that. All right, so it came back and said, that makes perfect sense. Looking at our current code. Let me check our implementation, modify the sorting logic. Right now we only sort out the best offer first, so we're gonna sort all offers by their weighted scale. Fantastic. Enhance the offer component, add a new to the position, create a pill-shaped rank indicator, style to overhang the top edge like the trophy does, use a neutral color palette that doesn't compete with the winning card. Love that. Position, absolute center top. Okay, let's implement the plan, our favorite button. All right, so I can see it added those rank indicators. They're a little bit big, so I'm just gonna ask it to make them smaller. kind of want those background colors to be maybe the light purple. Ooh, it refreshed and we lost all of our offers. So that is something we definitely need to tell it to do. So I'm gonna skip a little bit of design and I'm going to have it implement something that is really important, which is kind of saving your work as you go. So let me go ahead and ask it how it wants to do that so that we can make sure that people don't lose their offers when they refresh their page. Okay, so I am just saying here, I refreshed my page, I lost all my offers. Oh no, I want the offers to be saved and we can use whatever method you feel is most reliable. If a user refreshes the page, the offers they've created should still be shown. So let's go ahead and tell it that. Eventually, I want this to be able to save your offers in a profile as well. And we will get to that here in a moment, but this is a core functionality, is that if you refresh the page, you can still see your offers. All right, so it wants to store some stuff in Supabase, which we knew we were gonna come up to eventually at some point here, so we can go ahead and approve that. All right, so it looks like the code finished running. We did get an error here, so let's see what this error is going to work out to, because I'm gonna look at it and not know what it says anyway, so I may as well just click fix, and hopefully it'll be able to fix that. And it looks like it was our friend TypeScript errors. You love to see those. And we got some more of them, so it looks like we have some type of argument going on behind the scenes with TypeScript. I'm just gonna let Lovable figure all these things out. All right, it finally sorted out all the TypeScript errors here. We had to deal with a snake case, obviously. We all knew that was going on. All right, let's go ahead and add a couple offers again, and let's see if it saves them. So I went ahead and added a couple offers back into this, and the real moment of truth here is if I refresh, are they still here? And they are, fantastic. So now these are being stored in the database, which is wonderful, and I'm gonna go ahead and have it fix these little flags here because it's driving me nuts and I need to fix it. All right, it fixed the flags for me so I can sleep at night and those look much better. Okay, so right now what we have working is you can add in offers, it can choose your offer, which is really good. It can show you your monthly revenue for your offer here calculated. It ranks them by our weighted scale, which is really helpful. And now I think the next thing that we want to do is probably figure out how to monetize this app. And I had an interesting idea for this. Originally, I was just going to say if you want to kind of like save your offers, you could just create a profile and do that. But I actually think a more fun thing to do, because I just like doing weird things, is what if you got 1 hour to use this app? And you could use it for 1 hour for free. So when I start my session, when I hit this page, I can use it for 1 hour, but then after that, I have to pay to subscribe. I think that would be a really interesting way to monetize this app, and then just do a one-time payment of something really affordable, like 20 bucks or something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and think through how to implement that, and when I come back, I'm gonna tell you the next steps on how I'm gonna make that happen. Okay, so here's my plan of action, and I have laid it out here for Laz. I thought of a fun way to monetize this tool. I want to create a countdown timer that sits to the top right of the logo at the top of the page. So I'm imagining it up here, and these things will be centered. With our pink from our design system, the text in the pill will say free to use for, and it'll say XX minutes and XX seconds, and it will count down, and the pill shape should not change size. I have created timers in Lovable before, and the timer will like shift, and it's kind of weird to look at, so I know that ahead of time. When the timer hits 0, the page will force a redirect to a new page we need to create called Purchase. The Purchase page will use our fun design elements to display a large buy button and the price that will be $20 to use the tool for free forever and compare as many offers as you want forever. So I just want that Purchase page to basically say $20, unlock the tool forever, you can create as many offer comparisons as you want. And eventually I was thinking I could save this current offer comparison as something. It's like my Instagram Reels, January 2025 or whatever, and then I will make another one if I want, and then I can kind of save it. And then if a user comes back to the tool anytime after the 1 hour timer has expired, they will get redirected to the purchase page no matter what. The purchase will be done via Stripe, and I have a product I will create for the purchase. So I haven't done that yet. I just want to make sure Lovable knows we're going to use Stripe. And then post-purchase, we'll want the user to create an account. So I think this flow will work fine. Once created, they will get back to the offers that we saved for them. So, and then I said the question that I love to ask, what clarifying questions do you have? Okay, so it's asking lots of great questions here. Should the timer persist? Do we track if they previously used their free hour? Purchase page stuff. Okay, so let me go ahead and answer all of these questions. All right, these are really good questions from Laz here. So timer, I said, yes, we should start the timer with 59:59. So don't say 60 minutes and then make it weird. The timer definitely needs to persist, so we need to store that in the local storage. Again, I don't know what we're doing, I'm just telling them to do that. We should track if a user has previously had the timer expire and has not paid. Yes, that could get a little bit tricky. I think that might be the toughest part of this. Purchase, I do like the idea of showing the previous offers. Laz mentioned, like, should we show the offers they've done? And I'm thinking maybe show them as a small group of tiles that are blurred out. And then it said, like, do you want me to use our pink gradient background? We haven't used a pink gradient background anywhere. So I said, there's no pink gradient background. Refer to our design system for elements to create the buying section and buying button. So I think referencing specific pages really helps. Yes, definitely show lifetime access and unlimited offer comparisons. So just some text for that buying section. For Stripe, it asked if I have the product ID. I don't, but I'm going to go ahead and create the product here while it's setting things up, and I'll have it ready. I think you just need the ID number is all you need. And then I want to link directly to Stripe checkout. It was talking about making a cart. Don't make a cart. User flow, Stripe is going to process the payment, redirect back to us, and then we should know the payment succeeded and then show the sign up or auth page. Then an account creation, we've already done this, so I wanted to make sure it was asking questions like, should we stick to email and password, or should we want to offer social logins? Don't add any more login stuff. We can do that, but just not right now. It's too many things. And then I wanted to trigger some emails, no emails needed. And then access control, how would you like to handle the timer display? So this is a good thing that it thought about was, should the timer still show up? Because again, it's got to think of all these things. So I'm going to just send this through, and then I think it's probably going to want to write out a little bit of a plan for us, and hopefully we get our implement the plan button, which is all of our favorite buttons that we can ever press within Lovable. So it liked the clear answers, thank you. It's also giving me positive feedback. And it is checking some additional information before proposing a plan. I like that. Checking additional files to understand the current setup. I like that. It's doing all these checks before doing anything, which is really good. After reviewing the code base, including the system flow, I can now propose a comprehensive plan. So it's got some database updates. It's got timer implementation. It's pulling our pink color from the design system. Great. Purchase page. So it's going to create a new route to purchase. Authentication flow. And then we get to click it, implement the plan. And actually, while it's implementing that plan, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my Stripe account. So I'm going to click into my catalog, and I'm going to create a new product. And I'm going to call this Offer Math. And this is a tool to help creators pick their next great offer. An image that appears at checkout. I'm just going to grab our logo for right now. Let's see what that looks like. I haven't created a Stripe product page in quite a while. So this is a one-off purchase. We're going to call this $20 for now. We could always change that if we want. So unit quality, 20 bucks, and then add product. So pretty straightforward here in Stripe. Let's go ahead and click in here. And then I think if I remember correctly, yeah, here's the product ID, which you can just copy to clipboard. So we shall see how this goes. Let's go ahead and come back here. I'm sure Laz has been doing stuff. All right, so it wants to write some database things, which is good. Policies, tables, rows. Don't know anything about any of that stuff, but Laz is going to handle it for us. Paste this product ID for Stripe. I'm just going to save that here so that I always have it. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and check off while we're in this little Notion doc, core functionality. I think the core functionality is pretty much there. I had some advanced analysis stuff I was thinking about, but I think we can kind of add that later. We haven't done the user profile and dashboard yet, and we are kind of jumping ahead to this. So let's go ahead and move this up here. Let's come back and see what we're working with. All right, I've implemented a countdown timer. There it is. Nice. I like that. I do want the design of that to change. I want it to be the same size as the logo, but I'm going to go ahead and fix this error first just to see what's going on there. This is looking like a little bit busy up here, so we'll probably figure something out design-wise in the future. But for right now, I get very excited about design because Laz can just do a lot of it, which is fun, but you definitely want to like get the app working and have it be a functioning thing. The error has been fixed. Okay, fantastic. Okay, love that. Let's take a look at the purchase page and just see what this is looking like. This looks okay, but it's not really that fun. So, all right, so I just said, can you make the purchase page design more fun? Usually that does work. It does tend to just like round things and make them bigger. Center all the text, and I thought you were going to show a blurred out view of any offer cards I've created that will be in local storage. So maybe it didn't think about like, oh, let me take a look and see if those offer cards are there. And then I just said to make the button bigger. It's always a thing that you want to tell designers to do. And I consider Laz our designer for this project. So just make the button bigger, make the price bigger. There we go. It's picking some gradients that I don't necessarily love that we've never used before. Okay, so I just told it to reference our additional components by selecting this div here and to try and, I'm just hoping it's going to make it more round and maybe like a solid color. and then just change this gradient that it pulled out of nowhere to our blue color. And again, that's why you just have to, I love having the design system page because I can just always tell it to go back to that, and it can always pull from those colors. Otherwise, you play this game where you constantly have to be like, no, that's not our blue, and then I have to go find the hex code, and I'm coming back, and it's just not fun. I think this looks fine. There's probably some changes that I would make to this design-wise, and like maybe when this is released, you will see those changes. But I think for now, this is good enough. It's not doing the stored cards, so I don't want to overwhelm it and like try and do something crazy. So let's just go ahead and assume that that is done. So let's actually scroll back up here in the history and let's look at what I've implemented. Next steps here. Okay, great. So I'm gonna say, you said next steps. All right, so this is the Stripe ID. I'm just gonna put this in quotes so no, that's what it said. Please connect that to our purchase button and implement the next steps. So I'm assuming if we just go ahead and check this right now, obviously there's nothing to link to. One thing you should know about Lovable projects is when it adds Stripe, which is really great that it can do it quickly and you don't have to do too much. You can't actually view Stripe checkout pages in this interface. So I'm gonna have to use a preview in a new tab, which will help. And so I'll just go ahead and type in the purchase URL. So I'll be able to check that out there. So we'll come back here and we'll wait to make sure, yeah, because it needed to do some database stuff, Stripe integration. So yeah, this is all the code behind the scenes that Lovable is gonna set up for us to integrate Stripe directly using checkout, tracking sessions, having webhooks. I don't know anything about all these things. I can just tell it, please integrate Stripe, and here's a product ID that I created in a couple clicks of my mouse, and it's gonna do all the work for us. All right, don't mind me, it's a new day, but we're here. So the next step is, as we have looked at adding Stripe, it had a little Supabase error. It just wasn't connecting properly to everything it needed with the Edge function for Stripe. Don't know what that means, but I know I need to get my Stripe API key. So you need your API key and you need your product ID to get this going. So I have Stripe open here, and I already have a couple of keys that I made in my account. You just find this in the developer section and then in the API keys section. I'm gonna create a key, and then I am going to provide this key to another site. So I'm gonna do that with a restricted key, and I'm gonna call this Lovable Offer Math, and then I'm just gonna say this is lovable.dev, and we're going to create the key. So it created my key. I have it copied to my clipboard. I'm gonna go back over to Lovable, and it added this little button. It looks like it's grayed out, but you can actually still click it, and love that you can just paste this in here. And I'm gonna click submit, and hopefully Lovable will take care of the rest. Now this is where I like to lean into using the chat only function here, because I asked it, great, can you confirm the API key is stored and the product ID is set on the buy button in the purchase page? And it basically went through and said, the product ID isn't what we need. We actually need the price ID, which I forgot about. So we need to get the price ID, which is easy. And then the API key setup, it said it wasn't properly there. And so it just asked me to give the API key again, which I did. Then it went ahead and said we need to add some policies and things. So I did that, just clicked a button, I didn't do anything. And now we need to add the Stripe price ID. And you'll see when I click this, it would be nice if it took me right to the product ID and then I could grab the price, but it actually doesn't. It just goes to my Stripe dashboard. But it's really easy to find. I go into the product itself, and then right on this price that I had created when I made the product, I just click the three dots, copy the price ID. So I will go ahead and give it that. Looks like Lovable implemented a plan that it needed to do for adding the price ID, which is great. Again, love the implement the plan button. And now we have successfully, I'm gonna refresh this. When I'm on the purchase page, I click the buy button and I get to our Stripe product and I can purchase this product. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually purchase this and see if it does the login flow that we're looking for. All right, so payment process, and it says, thank you for your purchase. Please create an account. Okay, fantastic. I'm wondering if it can pull in the email that I used from the checkout. I'll ask it that in a second. So I'm just gonna give it this email, and then I'm gonna create a password. All right, so let's sign up. And then it says login credentials, so don't have an account. So again, it kind of gets stuck because these views look exactly the same. So let's go ahead and I'll remember that. Okay, so it created my account. Now it kicks me back to the purchase page, but let's see if I log in now, if it works. So let's go here. All right, so something is messed up with it, realizing that that email address has been tied to a purchase. So let me give it some information and see if it can fix it. Now then, I am going to save you about 25 minutes of time that I just worked with Lovable. I was dealing with a bunch of different issues, and because the application that you might build is going to be very different from the one that I built, I don't think it's helpful to troubleshoot exactly what I was doing, but I'll just very quickly summarize what was going on. I would click to purchase, and I would get the Stripe checkout page, and then it would bring me back to log in, and I would log in, and then it would just redirect me right back to the purchase page. It never basically let me into the app. And so we basically found out through a couple different things that while we gave it our Stripe API key, we also had to create a webhook in Stripe. So it's actually very easy to do. It's not difficult. It's in the same developers area, and then there's a webhooks section, and then you just create a new webhook. It gave me the exact thing to add as an event. I just copied it. I don't know what I'm even asking for. Then it will give you a secret key, which you click to reveal and copy. You don't want to put that anywhere public. You bring that back over to Lovable, and then I asked it where it wanted to put that key. And so we were just kind of going back and forth through things. And then I said, where do you need the key? And then it said, here's the form. And then it didn't give me a form. So I said, I need the form. And then it did. I gave it the key. It set it up. We had to do a little bit of database things. And then just through a couple back and forth things, I now can show you that I can log in with my account here. New account that I have created that should work and should let me log in. Before, I was always getting redirected back to the purchase page, but now I'm actually back into my account, and you can see this is where we left off many hours ago. And the thing that I'm noticing is the timer still exists, so we want to get rid of that because they don't need to see it anymore. And then also I need a profile page so that I can log out and then also probably save these offers. So let me start a prompt to work on a couple of those things, and then I think we'll then move on to making this project actually public so that you could use it and it will exist. Here is the prompt that I wrote to Laz. I said, awesome, it worked. Okay, the first thing we need to do is hide the countdown timer for a paying customer because they don't need to see it. And then I want the ability to save an offer comparison. So I'm actually envisioning a button above the offers. And I said, when this button is clicked, ask to name the offer comparison and then confirm the save or cancel the save. A lot of times I've noticed when you're working Lovable, if you don't say add a cancel, it doesn't add a cancel, and then you have to do that. So I'm trying to think ahead. And then upon saving, let's create a drop-down menu in the top right that will list saved comparisons, but only show this if we have at least one comparison saved. A user shouldn't see this drop-down that are saved. I also do want to add to this, add a new comparison button, but I do feel like that's too much to do at one time. So I try to keep these things as simple as possible. So let's see what we get. And that finished. We did run into a couple errors. I've actually never seen this before. It's like continuing to load, wanted to apply changes, and there was an error that was like a trifecta of things going wrong, but that's okay. I just clicked the button to fix it. It said we needed to add some stuff in the database. I said, go ahead. And then it ran into two errors back to back. It ran into a TypeScript error, as it always does. Then the button was actually placed underneath this offer card creator, and it didn't feel cohesive to me. And so I told it to move it up to the top, and I think it did a pretty good job. When I click this, this modal does kind of look a little bit off. It doesn't really match our branding. So I'm going to tell it to fix that, but I'm going to do that later. I just want to try and save this. So IG offers 2025. We'll call this Feb 2025. So let's save comparison and see what it does. Okay, so it says that it saved it, and now it added, oh, interesting. So it added this little toggle up here that has my offers. I definitely want this to be more apparent. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a prompt to fix both of those things and see if it can do it. It finished, and what I wrote for the prompt was, can you right align this on the page? And I had selected that little drop down that was there before, use our gold color that we really haven't used that'll stand out for that button. And I actually saw when it started writing this, it said, I'll help you move the save button. I didn't select the save button, so it did the wrong thing. And you can see it did create this, and this is okay. I don't think this is a problem. If I was upset with this, this is actually where I would probably use the restore. So this would take me back to having that button set up where it was before. But I'm just gonna leave it for now because I don't wanna mess with a bunch of design stuff. And the next thing I want to move on to is actually seeing a new offer get created once you have one saved. So let me work on that. And we finished working on a bunch of stuff here. So we have the save implementation, we have our saved comparisons. So if I've saved one, and we have a new comparison button. These buttons are getting a little bit button heavy up here in the top, so I'll clean that up later. But I just want to show you making a new one. I thought through Do you want to cancel out of this modal? Do you want to not save and create a new one? Or do you want to save first? I think this needs a little bit of finessing and some design love, but let's just go ahead and say don't save. And now I'm going to make another offer comparison with a couple offers, and we'll see if it all works together. And I have these two ebook offers. I'm either doing Japandi home styling or IKEA home hacks. Looks like I should do IKEA home hacks. I'm going to go ahead and save this. So I'm going to say home styling ebooks, and I'll save this comparison. So it said it was saved, and when I look up here, it's now here. So I can toggle back and forth between these two. Fantastic. Design isn't perfect on this dropdown and selecting these. I don't like this opacity, but I will worry about cleaning that up later. And now let me just do a think through of where we are, and I'll give you the next steps of what I'm going to do at this point. Had to think on it, and going back to our Notion doc, first we can check off Stripe payment integration. I do want to do just a little bit more testing, maybe clean up the product, but you don't need to watch me do that. After kind of working with the app, I'm not sure we need a user profile and dashboard. Maybe what I'll end up doing is adding a logout button if people want to do that. But because it's just a one-time purchase, simple tool, I think this is fine for now. Might come back and edit it later. We'll see about that. So let's actually get into the launching a task, because again, this is the thing I don't see much in Lovable videos when I watch them. We need to set up Resend, which I think I'm actually going to do after everything else, because you do have to change domains for sending domains and things. So I'm going to leave that to the very last. We're going to turn the email confirmation back on, which I will also do after setting up Resend. And then we are going to do the important things to have a custom domain. So let me walk you through what it takes there. The first thing is we're going to go into our settings here, and I just wanted to show you that to build this project, it took 125 messages in Lovable. So if you're comparing the pricing of how much it's going to cost you, just know that's the amount of messages it took to build a tool like this. I just think it's always fun to know. And then I want to transfer this repository into my GitHub account. So I'm doing this because I want to set this up with a custom domain, and you need this project to exist in GitHub for that. If you just wanted to use the Lovable domain, you could go ahead and rename your project, and you could then just use a Lovable URL. I am going to turn on the hide badge because I'm going to use my custom domain and this project's going to be set up. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer repository here. I already have my GitHub account connected, so I'll just click this. It's going to, I think, just spin up a project immediately. I don't have to do anything. Yeah, you can see it made this project for me, a repo in GitHub. I don't know anything about GitHub. I have an account. I have a couple of repositories, aka repos, and it made one called Offer Math Magic. So if I actually click over to this, you can see the project is here. It's listing all of the files, all of the code. I don't know what any of this means, but I know that it's done, which is an important step for setting up a custom domain. So let's go ahead and look at doing that. So in publishing this project, if I want to deploy this project using a custom domain, you can read the help doc that Lovable has for this. But because I've already done this before, I can kind of cheat and show you a couple little steps here. So I'm going to go to Netlify. Again, this is in the Lovable help docs. I'm going to log in with my GitHub account. I've already logged in. You would probably see some type of login. So I'm going to add a new site. So I'm going to import an existing project because that's coming from my GitHub account. I'm going to connect GitHub here. It is going to pull in a list of projects. So I'm going to click that one, site name. We're going to call this Offer Math. So this is just what the site is called. That site name is available. Fantastic. I'm not going to change any of this stuff. And one of my other projects, I did have to change the build command, but that only came later when I ran into an error. So I'm not going to do it now. So let's just go ahead and deploy the project first and see if we can get the custom domain working. And this will take a couple of minutes here, so I will come back when it's done. And it looks like Netlify finished everything it was doing because we can see there was a deploy already published. So I'm going to go ahead and put my domain here. And I'm going to verify that is my domain. So OfferMath's already registered. If you registered, I'm going to add the domain. And what makes this really easy is they just give you the things to copy into your DNS settings. DNS settings are kind of the bane of everyone's existence, but the important thing here is a flattened CNAME record. I use Cloudflare now for all of my domain hosting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I know that the CNAME for the root URL, which is this one, is going to be that. Again, I'm not going to walk you through all the DNS setting stuff because it is just such a nightmare to try and share that with people. But the easy thing to do here is just to create a CNAME record. It is going to be the @ record, and this is the thing that I am pasting in from Netlify, turning off the proxy status and hitting save. And now I'll go over and I will add the second record for the www version of that. So I'm just going to copy this. I don't think you need the period. I don't know why they added on that one and not on the other. And come back over here. So we're going to add another record. This is another CNAME record, www. And basically all this record does is says forward the www if someone types www.offermath.com, forward that to just offermath.com. So I will save that record as well. So those two records are there, and this is usually pretty quick to see it if I hit refresh. That's the great thing about using Cloudflare, especially for domain hosting. Super affordable, and also it works very quickly. Okay, so the domain is set up, and I believe that should be everything. Let's go ahead and check it. Famous last words, but there's our app. It's working with a custom domain just like that. That is literally how quickly the project will work and will exist for you if you're working on one of these projects. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our Notion doc, and we are going to click the GitHub project and the Netlify custom domain. Now let's go ahead and set up Resend. Now the only tricky thing I have to do is my domain that I purchased through Cloudflare is not going to have any email management for support. So I'm just going to set up a quick email forward there. So it'll just go to a different email, and then I'll come back and walk you through the resend steps. And now let's set up basically what is the final thing for our app to work. Is we need to change the email sending from sending emails through Supabase, which is fine for testing, but it's not good for continuing to send emails constantly. Like you can only send like 2 new account emails in an hour or something. So I'm going to use Resend, which is built right into Lovable, which is great. And I'm going to verify I am a human being last time I checked, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and create my account. All right, so I got that link, confirmation link expired, got an error, but it worked. I don't necessarily need any of this stuff at the moment. What I do need to do is add my custom domain. So I'm going to go ahead and click domains, and I'm going to add my offermath.com domain, and I will click that. And this is another reason why I love hosting domains with Cloudflare. I'm not getting paid to tell you to do this, is you can just sign in with your Cloudflare account and it'll automatically add DNS records for you, which I wish Netlify did as well. So it's just going to come in here. It's going to give me these records to add. I'm just going to go ahead and authorize these. And it knew which domain to do it for. It's going to go ahead and update here. So it's just going to take a second. And once this is done, we'll come back with the next steps. And the DNS records are completely done. So my domain is verified. I can start building and sending emails with this domain, which is fantastic. So that's pretty much all I need to do to get started here with Resend integrations. And I can set this up to work with Supabase directly, which is really nice. So these things are connected. So I'm going to choose my project through here. So I want to use this organization, and then it will ask me which specific project. So go ahead and authorize this. And now I will choose my project. So I'll click select. And it wants me to add an API key to this project. So I'll just go ahead and click add. And the next is to configure your SMTP settings. I don't really know what any of these things are. I just know this is for email. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. It just filled in this team, but I know I only have this email set up for forwarding. So I'm going to do that. This is already filled in for you. So I'm just going to hit configure. Fantastic. So it said, go to your Supabase dashboard to confirm the SMTP integration. So I'll just go ahead and click that. And we go into SMTP settings. We can see, set up that email, set up the resend. Fantastic. So now we will go back over to Lovable, and I will write a prompt to make sure that that is set up and with our custom domain. I just finished setting up the custom domain for our project. It lives at offermath.com, and I connected GitHub and Netlify. All of that is done. Just want to make sure it doesn't try and do anything else. The next thing I want to do is set up Resend for email sending. I already created my Resend account, added my offermath.com domain to Resend, added DNS records, and then set up the Resend integration with Supabase and updated all the SMTP settings there. So hopefully it knows that it won't have to do anything. And then that's why I'm in chat here, because I want to make sure it doesn't write any code. Can you tell me what updates we need to make to ensure that all our email capabilities like forgot password work properly with our custom domain? So let's see what it says. And actually, we got good news here. So upon a further review of everything, we get a bunch of great check marks, which is great. Domain is configured, Resend is configured, DNS, SMTP, email templates are set up. There's nothing in the code that needs to be changed because it's a very simple app. So that actually means that our app is ready to go and you could go ahead and use it.